Hello, everyone. I'm Glazer of the Snap Judgments podcast. Today, we've got a jam-packed episode of Snap Take for you. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to start with reviewing Spider-Man 2099. I'm going to tell you why I think that even though Spider-Ham is incredibly powerful, this card might be meta-warping. We're going to look at our giveaway, and then I've got 3 decks for you that feature Spider-Man 2099. Before we begin, I want to note that Spider-Ham is one of the best cards in the game. I think it's got a real argument for best one drop outside of Kitty Pryde in the game, and it is an extraordinarily versatile card that I think is worth tokens, that is worth having in your collection, and there's games where it just wins the matchup for you. For example, there's a lot of Black Panther Zola going around, and Spider-Ham can win that match. After a week, I'm certain of how much I like that card. I put it in almost everything. That said, we've got Spider-Man 2099 today. Spider-Man 2099 is a 4/6 first time moves to location, destroy an enemy card there. And what makes this so strong is the current meta, because there's 2 key meta decks currently. The first of those decks is your Lockjaw deck. Those Lockjaw decks very rarely have a lot in the lane, often only either Lockjaw or Thor. And Spider-Man being able to snipe those is a huge blow to those decks' ability to contest multiple. If they don't have them, they're trying to just drop 1 or 2 big things, and they are really going to struggle. Spider-Man 2099 will not auto-win that matchup, but I think its power in that matchup cannot be overstated. In addition, against, for example, a Kitty Pryde deck that's running Angela. In that Angela lane, for a lot of the game, the only cards that will be there will be Angela and Kitty. Spider-Man 2099 sniping either of those is phenomenal. Also, often sitting relatively alone, if not entirely alone, is Bishop. Killing Bishop is phenomenal. Another way to kill Bishop, by the way, in that matchup is very often Spider-Ham, which does a great job because there's so few expensive things in the deck. But killing one of these cards when your opponent isn't ready for it can swing and change the game. Now, there's flood decks that go wide. Spider-Man 2099 is only meter against, for example, a Thanos deck, for example, a regular move deck. That's fine. Those aren't the meta decks right now. You try and enter the larger meta decks, and a 4/6 at that stat rate is just a good. All right, that's my review of the card. Now, let's take a look at our giveaway. Our Phoenix Season Pass giveaway. We are giving away 5 Season Pass for this Phoenix Force. We have a grand prize Phoenix Force Season Pass and every Token Tuesday of the season on us. We're going to send you enough gold to get every single Token Tuesday for the month of July. And one time only, we've got another season pass added every 100 YouTube subs from 900 up to 2,000. We hit 900, so that 5 in the first bullet is already at 6 season passes. We're giving away 6 season passes and every Token Tuesday. Hopefully you join, hopefully you sub. Don't just sub for this, though. We provide you great value on this channel. We find you the best decks the fastest. We give you full card reviews. We cover absolutely everything you need to hit infinite, to get those infinity tickets and close that out in Marvel Snap. Finally, to enter, first you sub here. If you're not subbed, you can't win. Do me a favor, make sure your sub is public. Next up, follow, like, and retweet the announcement tweet for this giveaway. If you found this through Twitter, you are already on our Twitter. It's twitter.com/snapjudgecast. But in the comments of the tweet that you found this video in, you'll find the tweet that has that you're supposed to like, retweet, and comment. Then you reply in the comments on Twitter. You can also reply on this video. I don't really care if you complete the other steps, whether you comment here or there. Which Marvel Snap content creator would you like to see a guest on Snap Judgment Podcast? You can tag them or not. I don't really care. Recent guests include, but are not limited to, Molt, Educated Collins, KM Best, Lambie, Bootman, Savage Yeti, Doug Pie, Safety Blade, J Hugs, Bradsifer, and a Ridiculous Hat. Do me a favor, try not to name those people. They've been on. Most of them are going to be on again because we have such a good time with them. But tag anyone you want. Just so you know, Nina's coming on in like 2 weeks. I know Nina's crazy popular. You get so many votes whenever we do this. 2 weeks till Nina. We had to wait till summer so that we could schedule it since she's on another continent from me. Okay, let's talk about the first deck. This is Safety Blade's deck. If you're new here, you might not know this, but Safety Blade is a genius. He constantly makes meta decks. The High Evolutionary Wave decks, my idea, Safety made it work. Before you knew it, everyone was playing it. Fell out of favor a little while the lockdown rose to prominence, and now it is proving itself again as the second best High Evolutionary deck, that Wave version. In addition, he created the original Stature Hawk deck. Like, you can find it, the one that ran Nightcrawler before Nebula even came out, that had like a crazy win rate that everyone knew about. He made that deck. Partially because he's our friend, partially because he's a genius. We were able to get you, the viewers, that deck before anyone else knew about it. Before all the big content creators were like, this is the meta, this is the meta, we found you these decks. Well, this is what Safety thinks the best thing to do with Spidey 2019. It is a Wave Move deck. Now, a lot of these decks run Magneto. A lot of these decks run Doom in that America Chavez slot. And in that Nebula slot, a lot of these decks run Human Torch. There's a lot of Killmonger in the meta right now because Kitty Pryde is all over the place and because lockdown decks run a lot of one. So Nebula is fundamentally a slightly safer human. I guess it's not really that much of a difference. If you're going to play a 1-drop in that spot, you're taking the risk. Nebula just sort of forces your opponent to play a certain place and gives you a little bit of extra 2019. Right? If they put 2 things in that Nebula lane and then 1 big thing elsewhere, you can play 2099 into that Nebula lane, then pull it out to kill somewhere else using your Ghost Spider cloak. Combos, or Heimdall, I suppose, or Iron Fist. Those are the ways to move 2099. You can, on turn 5, just play Fist and Spider-Man. You can end turn 3 by playing Fist. You can play Spider-Man 2099, then ghost it over. You can cloak it over, or you can just leave it sitting there all game and then Heimdall at the end of the game. Spider-Man 29 reads as a 4/6, but assuming that you're hitting anything reasonably decent, you can fundamentally add that power to 2099. So he is often going to end up being like on the downside, like a 4/9, 4/10, right? Because he's removing that much energy from your opponent's side of the board. As an extra way to gain power, you've got Goose to like lock opponents out of locations. That's a really, really great way to win a lot of power when they can't get into a location, especially when you wave. When you wave after a Goose, nothing goes in that lane, but meanwhile, you can Heimdall things into that lane, or Silk can fly into that lane, as the case may be. Vulture is just a 3/8 is top of the line stats for a 3, 1/5 for Miles, which basically all the damn time is top of the line stats for Miles. You should have no problem getting enough power under that Goose. Don't feel like you have to Heimdall. Heimdall is a good closer, but very often the closer is just America Chavez. Dropping 9 power in a lane is very often enough to win. In addition, on turn 4, if you drop 2099, Wave in combination with numerous other cards is extremely powerful, particularly Cloak or Ghost Spider. They're going to do a phenomenal job of ruining your opponent's life and making it very hard for them to play. They're going to get to play 1 card. You're going to have killed one of their cards, playing that 3 for Wave, that 3 or 4 from Ghost Spider or Cloak, and then getting that 6 plus whatever you killed from 2099. The tempo is absolutely tremendous. Silk is hard to play around. It is not a pivotal card for this deck, but it is a very good card. But it is hard to play around. You need to practice knowing when and how often to play into that Silk lane. But sooner or later, she tends to end up in the right spot, or a spot that's really powerful. And while you're having trouble playing around it, so is your opponent. This deck is very, very powerful. Before we go on, obviously the deck is built for 2099, but Silk is not a necessity. It can easily be a card like Craven or even Jeff, while Nebula could be Human Torch. Nebula could be even, I don't know, Zabu, right? You have many, many, many options in this deck for powerful things to do. That is Control 2099 by Safety Blade. If you like this deck and would like to see some gameplay, our friend Savage Yeti over on his YouTube, and we're going to include that in the description to this video, is going to release some gameplay of this deck. Make sure you check that out too if you're interested. Deck number 2 is JungCat Move. JungCat has been playing Move forever, even when it wasn't meta, and basically came in first in the Snap Fan Open this past Saturday. In that deck at the time was Vision over Spider-Man 2099. I decided that, well, you're only getting one less power out of 2099 as compared to Vision, and that last turn move with 2099 is so often much more powerful than Vision because, again, you're getting that extra strength. Other than that, this is just a fairly standard move deck that's spending a lot of time and energy sort of wrecking your opponent's life, right? On turn 5, you're almost ideally playing something like Iron Fist and 2099. Hopefully, you've gotten some move out for that really, really nice Miles. You can play Miles and Stegron that turn, whatever. Craven gets big with all the moves. Dagger is like the sleeper card of move decks. It is phenomenal. And your opponents can basically never feel safe, no matter how big or strong something is, because 2099 in combination with Shang-Chi is so strong. Now, the toss-up here is, should you run Stegron or should you run Vision? I chose to run Stegron because he's honestly one cheaper. And on turn 6, being able to play Stegron and then, Ghost Spider to pull 2099, Vulture, or Dagger, and then drop Stegron on top of that to move your opponent's card potentially onto Craven for more power, but really just getting it out of the way is so strong. You could also conceivably, with a move on 5, drop on 6 Iron Fist a Miles and then either Stegron or, which is an extremely powerful play line that would not be available with Vision in that Stegron spot. So that's this deck. Shang-Chi is here because Shang-Chi is good, and you should probably be, if not playing him in any competitive conquest decks, at least strongly considering him because he's so strong. Everything else here is fairly soft. So we're going to move on, but if you like this deck, our friend Combat over on his YouTube is going to do a gameplay video of it with 2099. So make sure you check that out. Again, link will be in the description. Finally, I decided that what I'd like to do, because this is one of my favorite decks in the history of the game, is work with the Darkhawk. I called it MetaHawk. It became known as Stats and Hawks or whatever nonsense. It's the Stature Black Bolt Darkhawk deck. So it's still got the same basic core as that. Instead of Enchantress, who's good in the meta, but not as good because it has no target and bounce, and it's only got a mediocre target into Lockjaw, right? It's still an okay card, but just not as powerful. Let's play 2099 and have an extra way to snipe opponents. In order to facilitate that, I added Iron Fist in that extra 1-drop spot, and I added Ghost Spider as a way to pull 20. The card that replaced is Jeff, and I'm not sure if I want Vulture here. Vulture might be good, but I might want to save both moves for 2099. And like, just if not, then Ghost Spider is just good to like pull a Darkhawk out of the way, and Iron Fist is good to like help you reach locations otherwise unreachable. So I'm not sure about Vulture. Everything else in this deck should be really good. You've got Korg, Zabu, Darkhawk, and Rockslide for that package. You've got Stature and Blackhold for their package. And then you've got Ghost Spider, Iron Fist to work with 2099 and Miles, which means the extra card here, Vulture, right? Vulture could be numerous cards. I spent, I don't know, an hour talking to Safety about it. This is the one I sent to him, and we decided we don't really want Vulture, but it's a fine placeholder, and it's a Series 3 card. Possible replacements are Jeff as an extra move to for Miles and to help you get into locations that are awkward when they're on the right. You could potentially be running something. You could just throw the Enchantress back in. I plan to start screwing around at least a little bit with Spider-Ham, just because I think Spider-Ham is so freaking powerful. It's hard for me not to run him, but there's a lot of options. You could also play Cloak. I don't love Cloak in this because I feel like there's going to be enough move in the meta that I don't really want to enable it if I don't have to for opponents, but here we are. You could also be playing Silk for a similar reason that you would play Jeff. It's just more power and harder to control. All of these are perfectly fine options. One more, sorry, just occurred to me. at the Creator Clash tournament, Howling Minds, one of my predecessors at Marvel Snap Zone, phenomenal person. He's coming on the podcast soon as well. Howling Minds was running a deck just like this, but with that extra one drop spot playing Kitty. And Kitty's not always going to be useful. Sometimes you're going to play like totally on curve, and Kitty's just going to be kind of bad. But Kitty is if you're missing curve, and like it's going to happen fairly often with this deck. In fairness, this deck doesn't play perfectly on curve. Kitty is an excellent shout in that vulture spot too, and you should have Kitty, right? Because it was given to everyone. All right. That is our video for today. I urge you to try out these 3 decks. We're going to have video for these decks soon. Don't forget these end up being in Sleeper Decks of the Week over on Marvel Snap Zone as an article every single Saturday. Article does great. Make sure you're checking that out. All the gameplay videos will be there if you manage to miss them throughout the week as they come up. Don't forget our big giveaway. There are 6 season passes already. I'd assume by the time you're seeing this, we're up to 7. And the grand prize of the season pass with all the other stuff. We're going to keep you ahead of the meta. I got some really sweet decks already all planned out for you tomorrow. And tomorrow night, we're recording the Snap Justice podcast, which airs over on the Marvel Snaps on YouTube with the legendary Den. So that is so much for you to check out. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and peace.